Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the second webinar in a series of 3 that Lakeside is hosting. This one is a path to sustainability through efficient transportation. At the end of the webinar, the line will be open for questioning. 2 ways to ask a question. One is to click the hand icon on the dashboard on the screen. The other one is to just type your question in the dashboard that you will see. There's an area to type that question, and we will answer those live. So first of all, I'm Jeff Moore, the President and CEO of Lakeside, and I'm joined this morning by 2 of my colleagues, Tom Coates, who's our Senior VP and Chief Operating Officer, and Susan Moore, who is our Director of Sustainability. Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff.
Morning.
So the first thing that I'll start out with, and I'll be very, very brief, for those of you that don't know anything about our company, we are a leading transportation management company, been in business for over 26 years. We're a non-asset-based, technology-driven, value-added transportation management supplier. We currently have 60 employees. We're a family-owned business and very proud of our collaborative and innovative culture that we have developed in our office in Oakville, Ontario. If you don't know us, you certainly will know who our clients are. Over 26 years, we have developed long-lasting relationships with companies like Campbell Soup, Give & Go Prepared Foods, J&J, Oak Run, Xerox, and many others. These being examples of different verticals. We are very heavily focused in the food and consumer packaged goods business and have developed unique transportation management models for all of these companies as well as many more. There is much more information that can be gathered on our website at lakesidebesmart.com. So certainly use that as a resource. So to start, I wanted to just touch on where we started in 2007. From a sustainability standpoint, we decided that we needed to get our own house in order, which we did, and understand really what sustainability meant from an environmental standpoint and a business standpoint within the transportation management industry. So we first of all started off and got our house in order, became carbon neutral in 2007, which was just sort of our first milestone. But really where we wanted to go with this was to take this out to the industry. And so we started off with a few in-house initiatives and then grew to offer integrated sustainability programs within the transportation management function. We did this by supplying KPIs that measure the impact that transportation has on the environment and the reduction of cost against historical benchmarks to measure that economic impact as well as sustainability impact or carbon footprint. We've come a long way since 2007. It is a very sophisticated model that is built into our SmartSourced Transportation model that we will talk a bit about. And then from there, we will turn it over to Susan, who is our sustainability expert, and she can enlighten us a bit more on where we've taken this. So at this time, I'm going to turn this over to Tom Coates, and Tom's going to briefly talk about our SmartSourced Transportation model. Tom?
Thanks, Jeff. As you can see on the slide here, that we see the ideal transportation department, or the transportation department, as a tactical and very powerful partnership that we can help the client increase profits and create a very efficient transportation department. By leveraging Lakeside's transportation management core competency and then adding the customer's competencies to be a best-in-class business process. We also see it as a part of the process that enables your company to facilitate an effective, sustainable program as it relates to transportation management. And I'll go back up to the bubbles there and just very quickly talk about the differences between a typical transportation department and one where we call the ideal transportation department. So in the bottom, you'll see that what you get out of most transportation departments, you have operations on a tactical basis. You're dealing with the day-to-day activities. You've got you're dealing with some process, where route design and so on, and some carrier compliance and the like. When you look at the, and that's pretty well all tactical. We like to look at it in another strategic fashion, where we add information through our technology. We procurement of transportation at a higher level. We have a great purchase capability for transportation, and as well as design from route design and the whole process. So we can move on to the next. As you see here, what smart sourcing will do for your company is help you work through cost efficiencies, transfer of risk, where we can share that with you, gives you higher visibility of the whole entire transportation process. You get enhanced control and the development of innovation through a collaborative environment, more so than, and it's a different perspective completely. So in summary, smart sourcing reduces cost, and it also reduces the carbon footprint by driving transportation efficiencies.
Great, thanks, Tom. Again, to get a much more in-depth look at smart sourcing and the ideal transportation, refer to lakesidebesmart.com. Now we're going to turn this over to our expert, Susan, who Susan has been with us for over 5 years. She comes to us with a chemical engineering background, and Susan has really taken sustainability within the transportation environment to a whole new level. And Sue, could you talk to us about trends and other things in sustainability?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I'm just going to spend a couple minutes talking about the trends in the industry. I think most of us are aware that there's a tremendous pressure out there to drive costs out of the system for a myriad of reasons. But certainly one of the driving reasons is the cost of diesel these days, which is affecting our supplier costs, which is up over $4 a gallon in the U.S. And so we're definitely seeing goals to improve our fuel efficiency and drive lower freight rates, but they're basically as low as they can go. And so we have to look beyond that and figure out different ways to drive costs out of the system. And so we are seeing increases in co-mingling, which we're going to talk about in more degree in a few moments. For those of you who aren't aware of the stats behind greenhouse gas emissions, transportation is the largest single category that emits greenhouse gas emissions on the planet. And in Canada, that transportation is responsible for somewhere, it depends on the numbers, between 24 and 28% of all greenhouse gas emissions. Now that includes the cars you drive every day, as well as the heavy-duty trucks that haul all of our goods. And trucking itself is responsible for 7% of all emissions. So there's a tremendous push to increase fuel efficiency in this sector and therefore decrease our overall emissions in Canada. Right now, as of, I think, just a couple weeks ago, the Canadian government announced that we are halfway towards our 17% decrease goal to cut emissions over 2005. We have to do this by 2020. And one of the main ways that the government is looking to do this is through new transportation regulations, and that's going to help us with our goal. And what that's going to do is put a pressure on the heavy-duty truck industry to meet new fuel regulations starting with the 2014 model year. So initially, that is going to cost us somewhere around $8 million, but return to us by 2018, $5 billion, according to the calculation. So this is all making sense, and it is the way the world's going, and we need to be more efficient. So that brings me more to, onto our own sustainability program at Lakeside. As Jeff intimated, we have an environmental program that we call Lakeside Vision Green that we started in 2007. And I'm going to talk about that because that's really our green program and more of what you would think is the traditional sustainability program. But also going to talk about future business viability, because what we've come to see is that it's great to be green, but we have to be able to develop short and long-term paths to be efficient in our business practices and drive costs out of the system, because that's really what our customers are looking for. We want to do the right thing, and we want to do it at the best possible cost that we can do it, and through good business practices. So first I'll talk about our Vision Green program, which we did start back in 2007. And we started it internally with the first step becoming carbon neutral. And we did that by auditing our own carbon footprint internally and seek outside help to an organization called Zero Footprint. So they continue to help us audit our carbon footprint every year. And since 2007, we have steadily decreased our footprint, and it's now gone down 63% on a per person, 63% per person. And we've done that through a number of different initiatives. We bullfrog power our power to Lakeside. Our carrier relations manager is actually on her second generation of low-emission vehicles. Started off with a Prius and has now moved on to a Volt. And this Volt is new to us, but we're very excited to have it and be one of the leaders in the industry and one of the few Volts on the road, which is decreasing our emissions significantly from an electricity standpoint. And then, of course, there's all the other things like decreasing your paper and your bottled water and all those other things that come to be. But really, the reason it happened is we've got a strong green team internally, and what that does is it helps all of our employees buy into the sustainability program. We have a fairly young workforce at Lakeside, and it's a great concern to them. And what it really does is it helps them, when we also go on to the next stage and talk about carriers and customers, it helps them to understand why it's so important. So the next, once we got the internal program underway, and we continue to do that on an ongoing basis, the biggest impact that we knew we could have was within our carrier base. We deal with approximately 3,500 carriers at Lakeside, and so it was a mammoth task to decide how we wanted to approach them back in 2007 to decrease our carbon footprint, and realized quickly that the best way to do that would be to do it through the EPA SmartWay Partnership Program. And so we joined the partnership back in 2007, back when it had just 300 members. Today it's 3,000 strong, and it's comprised of shippers, carriers, and those like ourselves that manage transportation programs. And what it allows Lakeside to do is actually calculate the carbon footprint of our network. So for our customers, we get numbers from SmartWay, from the carriers that are part of that program. We're able to understand what each individual carrier's carbon footprint is per mile, and then translate that to our own customers' network. We started off back in 2007 with just 10% of our miles hauled by SmartWay, and we've steadily been converting carriers to the point where we're over half of our carrier miles now are hauled by SmartWay carriers. What's in it for the carriers to join SmartWay? Well, they get access to fuel-saving strategies, they get assistance with their goals, and since 2004, SmartWay has decreased gallons of fuel used by 2.3 billion gallons and 23 million metric tons of carbon. So it is the program to belong to. And as I said, because we've been able to track our carriers, this is important for our customers. So our customers are looking for metrics. They want to understand what their own carbon footprint is, be able to set goals, and move forward and monitor it ongoing. And we're able to do that through this program. Now, over time, we also realized that it's good business practice. We have to have future business viability. And so how do we do that? We have our green program in place, but what really matters to customers is driving costs out of the system. And if we can drive costs out of the system, then we will have, all of us have more sustainable businesses in the future. And so we do that by driving miles out of the system and do it through a number of different ways, reducing empty pallet miles, increasing our pallets per trip, increasing our capacity for long hauls, reducing our out-of-route miles, and managing our appointments and reducing idling. All of these things contribute to driving miles out of the system, and by driving miles out, we reduce cost. But of course, the other thing is by reducing miles, we're reducing our carbon emissions. So it's a win-win situation for our customers, and really works for us. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Tom, who's going to talk about how we do that. How do we measure those different capabilities for driving miles out of the system?
Actually, Susan, I'm going to just interject there for 1 second. You know, this is all very interesting, and I think that one of the really important things to point out that there really are incredible pressures on all companies, manufacturers, shippers, to drive costs out of the system. And, you know, it always amazes me that from an innovation standpoint, that most companies are struggling with how do they drive those costs out and be effective outside of what would typically be, you know, an RFP process. And, you know, an RFP today, you know, versus in the past, really is to mitigate increases, not to reduce costs. And, you know, we're seeing this over and over and over. So, you know, as a manufacturer, you've really got to find more innovative ways to become more efficient and to drive those costs out. And one of the ways to do that is to look outside your organization, you know, for innovative solutions. So I think it's really important to realize that there are other ways to get costs out that may be non-traditional, and there are some great companies that are working on these innovative ways to you know, to take costs out and to improve the bottom line. So, you know, as you can see, you know, transportation is a very, very complex world, and, you know, trying to focus on all the aspects is a real challenge. One of the ways to cut through the complexity is, in our world, to SmartSource. One of the key metrics in SmartSourcing that we have developed is what we call SmartScore. And I'm going to ask Tom to explain, you know, this effective, very effective measurement.
Tom? Okay, thanks, Jeff. So we'll look at the SmartScore, and I'll break it down into a few different examples. And basically, we've developed a formula to measure the effectiveness of the use of a trailer and the routing over a long distance, or the distance traveled, and while reducing the amount of empty pallet miles as well. As you can see on this first example, the most efficient and cleanest way to get a high score is one origin and one destination. And with and that would be your 100%. You've got 30 pallets traveling from point A to point B. If you were to remove 2 pallets, the impact on our SmartScore is drops at 7%. So 28 pallets reduces that to 93%. In the second, what we see here would be a typical consolidation that would be done by a shipper or company from one point, and in this example, to three destinations. You've got out-of-route miles, as you can see, where you're moving off the straight blue line, and you've got a higher number of empty pallet miles. And what our SmartScore determines as a ranking on that is somewhere between 40 to 60%. So it's not as efficient, obviously, but that is the way that most companies would route their traffic. In the how Lakeside looks at it in a consolidation, we would have one origin point, and through consolidation and using our trip builder software, we would look at pushing the the 3 deliveries as an example out closer to the final destination, and therefore, that increases your SmartScore up to 90%. So our objective is always to create trips with fewer out-of-route miles, with all deliveries occurring as close to the final destination as possible. And we do this with a skilled team of logistics planners and our proprietary trip building software. Now, co-mingling is another concept that we practice, where we're bringing multiple shippers or customers together, and they collectively we have higher volume to ship, and it does improve the load scores, the SmartScore. Customers continue to demand smaller and more frequent deliveries, and that's to reduce inventory levels. LTL carriers traditionally perform consolidations within their own organization, and they reap the benefits or savings. At Lakeside, we like to be able to do the co-mingling so that we can pass savings on to the customer and reduce the landed cost per pallet. As an example, where you've got in the co-mingling environment, typically where a single consolidation, you see where there's your ability to get a high score is reduced by where the location of all the shippers are. You're not able to create as many efficient runs. And in co-mingling, we have where we have a multi-stop consolidation. We've got, as you can see, there would be 3 shippers that we would bring together to co-mingle, and it would be like product going to destinations. Where what we try to do is achieve through the co-mingling single trips to destinations. So if there's a common customer from all 3 shippers, we'll build full truckloads, which reduces the empty miles, the out-of-route miles, empty pallet miles, and increases the SmartScore, as well as decreases the carbon footprint. To give you an idea of a case study, a frozen food manufacturer, one of our customers, they ship a lot of volume, LTL volume, into the United States marketplace. They have seen year-over-year volume increases in their business, up 8%. And even with that increased volume, we've been able to increase the smart scores from when they were performing all of the transportation management from 76% to 82%. We've been able to increase pallets per trip, which increases the SmartScore, and reduce the number of shipments off their dock, which takes a lot of pressure off of the shipping area, and significantly reduce the out-of-route miles. Again, very big impact on the environment. At the same time, we've been able to take out approximately 20,000 miles that was out-of-route miles. We've been able to reduce the amount of truckloads by more than 50 annually out of the process, reduce the landed cost by approximately 15%, and reduce the total transportation carbon footprint by 500 metric tons, which equals roughly 100 cars, which would be taken off the road.
Okay, Tom, thank you very much. So, the key takeaway is, in that case study, by having a partner that can facilitate this kind of thing, even with an 8% increase in volume overall, you're able to take out approximately 50 shipments, and that's a significant reduction. And then when you look at, we always measure things on a delivered cost per pallet by client. Overall, in that particular program, we were reducing the landed cost per pallet by 15%. I mean, it's a really, really significant number. It's something that could never, ever get achieved by, through an RFP or, through any kind of, traditional negotiating with carriers. Those days are over. So, that's those are great results. They're exciting to sit down with a client and deliver on quarterly reviews, these kinds of numbers, and this is typically what we're seeing, across the board. So, with smart sourcing, the model truly does achieve it, and I think that's that's a lot of value that gets delivered to clients. So, in summary, I think from an environmental standpoint, you've got to develop a green strategy and foster that environment internally. Develop a culture or integrate that into your culture that you have today in your company. It can actually be a lot of fun. I mean, we've really seen that all of our employees have really embraced it, not only within our office, but have taken those practices home and are really having an impact in the office and at home, and again having some fun with it. Really important to engage partners in this process. Your suppliers, your customers, share those successes and help everybody collaboratively to achieve certain set goals so that you can be more sustainable. And of course, looking for ways to drive miles and carbon out of the transportation department. Through smart sourcing, we are decreasing or increasing the pallets per load, reducing out of route miles, and it is something that we're doing through very innovative technology and really bright people. I think that's important to mention. We have 60 logistics professionals within our organization, and certainly today with most customers, they're not increasing their headcount, they're reducing it. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for signing on today. We're at the end of our webinar. I noticed there are a few questions here. We want to get done in the next minute or so, so we're going to get through this. Again, visit us at lakesidebesmart.com/blog if you want to listen to this webinar or any of the other webinars. But I'll review a couple of questions. There's several. We'll take Tim has asked, how do you recommend staying on top of EPA changes and getting regular updates? Susan, what would you suggest?
Well, I would recommend being a SmartWay transport partner, because whether you're a shipper or you're a carrier or a third-party logistics provider like ourselves, you have a role in the SmartWay partnership, and you can be a member and you're accountable to them. But in return, what you get from them is a lot of information and a lot of technology, regular updates, monthly bulletins, and of the like. And these guys are on the leading edge of what's happening in regulations, and so I would say that's the best way to do it.
Okay, great. We'll take one more from Scott. It all sounds good, or it all sounds interesting, but how do you measure the effectiveness of smart sourcing? I will answer this one. Where you start in a program like this is a very in-depth study, and it is really, really important, no matter what you're doing and what company you partner with, is to benchmark what you're doing today so that you have something to measure against tomorrow. That is typically a 4 to 6 week process, and what comes out at the end is a very detailed analysis that allows you to measure, and of course we are facilitating that measurement of the effectiveness of smart sourcing and working with an outsourced transportation management provider. So I think that's going to wrap it up. Thanks, Tom and Susan. We went a couple of minutes over, but hopefully that's nobody's going to penalize us for that. Just want to remind everybody, our next webinar is simplify transportation complexity and focus on your competency. It will be in October. We will be sending out an email notice, and as well, I believe Food in Canada will have an ad for that, an announcement for that for next month. So thanks again, everybody, for joining. Appreciate your patience, and have a great day.